On easy difficulty, bosses attack do less damage than usual and seem a bit slow to react. On normal, reacting with near human speed and strength. On hard, bosses are more aggressive, they attack more often, and do more damage than usual. On Dante Must Die mode, the bosses inflict godly damage and, mostly, attack with, at least to DMC3 DMD newcomers, unfair speed and freakish aggression. When you play Devil May Cry 3, make sure you can hear the game's sound effects. Most, if not all, enemies give away their attacks with sounds or words. Cerberus is the second boss you encounter in Devil May Cry 3, and he's as tough as he comes. He has 3 heads, each of which have a different special attack. One fires ice, another stamps his paw and ice spikes come in a line. The final one breathes cold air on the ground, and if you touch it you will get frozen. There is also an attack which causes ice to fall from the sky. The best suited style for this boss is Trickster. He will sometimes swipe at you, headbutt you, ram you, and bite you. The best weapon to use is Agni and Rudra, as Cerberus is weak against fire. Once you take 1/2 of his life, he screams, "You're not human, are you?" And a hell load of ice spikes pop out in front of him. Right then, his body color changes into red and his attacks become more devastating, meaning he lost 1/4 of his life and he just entered the second phase of the fight. Dodge by jumping or by dashing. The first thing you have to do is remove the ice from his heads and legs. Use Ebony and Ivory to shoot from afar, and then jump towards the heads and use Agni and Rudra's attacks on it. Once he has less than 50% health, all his attacks increase in strength. If he charges at you, try jumping on his back. The only thing that could hit you here are the falling spikes. Cerberus attacks, moves, and how to counter them. Method 1. First time fight with Cerberus. Weapons, Rebellion, Ebony and Ivory. Direction change. Not really an attack, but Cerberus will turn and face Dante's general direction. When he faces the right more, he barely can hit the left side. When he faces left, he can barely face the right side. You can use this knowledge to attack his paws and bring him down onto the ground. Paw swipe. Cerberus lifts one paw and swipes in front of him quickly. Roll, then jump out of the way of any following swipes. This takes a quick reaction to dodge. Single paw crystal. Cerberus lifts one paw and roars, then slams his paw into the ground, generating a line of jagged ice to rise in a relatively straight line in front of his paw. To dodge this, jump to the side. Air hiking and hovering with Ebony and Ivory works too. Double paw million carrots. Cerberus lifts both paws and rears a little bit while saying, "You aren't human, are you?" Then slams down and large ice crystals all around him. Jump away, avoid this, or air hike and hover with Ebony and Ivory. This is the only attack that Cerberus announces by saying something. The rest of the sounds he makes are roars and growls. You can see his all other attacks coming by visual cues, for example glowing eyes, mouth, etc. Headbutt. Cerberus lowers his 3 heads and nudges forward a little bit. You can tell he did the attack because his heads get a white, wisping wind effect around them. To dodge this, when he lowers his heads, back away. Dash. If you stay close to him for too long, he will perform a quick, almost undetectable biting attack. Just don't stay in his face for too long. Pounce or dash attack. Cerberus lowers his entire front body and slightly raises his hindquarters. If you've ever seen an animal get ready to pounce, especially a feline, it looks just like that. This means he's about to dash forward only to be pulled back because of his chains. Roll out of the way or air hike over him. If you don't have air hike, don't jump, roll instead. Jumping won't get you high enough or far enough to avoid the attack, and you get a few tons of doggy on top of you. Chain break. Cerberus rustles around in his chains. This isn't really an attack, but he's held back by 5 chains. Sometimes when he rustles, he breaks one. He can break up to 4 of them. When he is held back by only 1 chain, his pounce goes to the other end of the room and he dashes very quickly. While Cerberus is messing with his chains, Helm breaker him in the faces. Head rotation. Cerberus will roar and rotate his 3 heads. The head in the middle delegates which attack the heads will perform. The heads each have different colored eyes. Freeze breath, red or orange eyes. Cerberus rears up on his hind legs roaring and blue light shines from his mouth. He comes back to the ground and blows freezing breath on the floor. Touching the frozen floor causes damage. To dodge this, jump or air hike and hover with ebony and ivory or run to the non-affected area. The side of the room Cerberus isn't pointing towards. If he's facing toward the left, run to the right, etc. Ice balls, light blue eyes. Cerberus lowers his front body. Blue light appears by his middle mouth, and when it's released, he shoots an ice ball in Dante's direction. These can be deflected back at Cerberus with a quick swing of rebellion, or you can wait for the balls to be shot and roll. Only roll if an ice ball is going your way, or you might end up rolling into one. Icicle drop, yellow eyes. Cerberus's most dangerous move because it hits multiple times and drops from directly above Dante's position. To dodge this attack, simply roll around until it stops. It's possible to tell where the icicles will drop because the floor looks cold. It frosts a little. Where the icicles will drop. When the floor stops frosting around Dante or when the icicles stop coming, the attack is over. Ice armor Cerberus rears up like the freeze blast, but lets out a slightly higher pitched roar. He renews the ice armor he began the fight with. Blue lights sparkle all over his character. General strategy. Shoot like a madman to knock the ice armor off of Cerberus's weak spots. Try to target both paws and the yellow head first. L3 switches targets. The yellow-eyed head uses Cerberus's most accurate attack, icicle drop, so the faster you kill it, the less you have to worry about it. Stinger into a paw and perform a few helm breakers while paying close attention to the rest of Cerberus. Using helm breaker on a paw usually gets Dante hitting one of the side heads as well as the paw. Make sure you are listening for his attacks and watching his head's movement. Dodge any crystal attacks, and if Cerberus starts to swipe at you, quickly roll away from him, left paw, roll right, right paw, roll left, and jump away. Target the other heads with ebony and ivory to knock off the ice guarding them. When Cerberus stops swiping around with his paws, stinger into that same paw again and continue to combo it. Sometimes while attacking a paw, one of his heads takes damage too. Eventually, Cerberus will collapse from his paw being weak. Jump in the middle of the heads and go to town on them with stingers, helm breakers, and triangle paws, triangle combos. Hitting 2 or more heads does more damage than hitting one, but still try to concentrate attacks on the yellow-eyed head. Keep attacking Cerberus as he gets up, but once he stands up fully, be safe and back away. From this point on, alternate between getting up close and personal with rebellion, jumping high times and helm breakers, and firing away with ebony and ivory from a distance. Remember to never stay in his face too long. While headbutt and pounce are pretty easy to see coming, the Nash attack is just about impossible to telegraph. If Cerberus pounces, stinger into him and helm breaker like mad while he is recovering. Continue until he stands all the way up. If at any time Cerberus recovers his ice armor, simply shoot it off him again. After knocking Cerberus's paw out once, concentrate on damaging the heads. The time it takes to knock Cerberus down via attacking his paw a second time is not worth the effort. Once you destroy the yellow-eyed head, decide which attack, freeze breath or ice balls, gives you more trouble. I usually kill the yellow-eyed head, then the light blue-eyed head, ice balls attack, leaving the pitiful freeze breath attack as the only special head attack, since it's the easiest to avoid. When Cerberus has only one head left, he begins to attack very rapidly, often doing the head special attack several times in a row. This is why we leave the easiest to dodge for last. Sometimes when Cerberus stands up from being stunned, he will shake his chains off. While he is shaking his chains off, helm breaker him in the faces as many times as you can. Oftentimes, your breakers will catch more than one head. Now that Cerberus is down to his freeze breath attack, look for the icy mist giveaway. Whenever you see him to start misting at the mouth, run in close and get ready to jump. When he starts freezing the ground, target him, jump, and start to hover with ebony and ivory once you reach the highest point of Dante's jump. When he's done freezing the ground, come down in him with a nice helm breaker, then perform a rising high time followed by another helm breaker. Back away and wait for another freeze breath attack. Repeat as needed. Why do we need to back off before the next freeze breath attack? Cerberus still uses his headbutt, swipes, and his Nash attacks. These would be difficult to dodge if you stayed in front of him. If you don't want to attack him with melee in his last stage of fighting, Stand on the side of the room Cerberus isn't facing and just blast away at the final head. Cerberus either faces the left or the right side of the room. If he faces left, run to the right. If he faces right, run to the left. This position is applicable whenever firing ebony and ivory from a distance. This gives you more space to shoot and eliminates the need to dodge most attacks. Melee is simply more efficient. On hard mode, shooting from the side he isn't facing isn't as useful because he turns to face Dante more often. Shooting one head for a little bit of extra time after knocking the ice off of it delays Cerberus Pounce attack. The wind-up becomes longer as does the recovery, sliding back to his corner. Helm Breaker is obviously your best friend during this fight since you only have the Rebellion at this point. Method 2. Returning to fight with Cerberus again. Recommended weapons: Devil Arms, Agni and Rudra and Beowulf or Nevin, Swordmaster. Guns: Ebony and Ivory and Spiral. Shoot the ice off his head. From then on, he should be cake. Tempest him, air combo him, whatever. Just don't get cocky and dodge his charges and ice attacks. Try millions slashing his legs to make him fall. Using Tempest will damage all 3 of his heads, and great for destroying falling ice or ice shoot. Agni and Rudra seems to do more damage than any other weapon, and is affected by the fire that lingers on his head or foot. Cerberus is elementally weak to Agni and Rudra. Replace Helm Breakers with Aerial Crosses. To inflict damage more quickly, Aerial Cross into Ebony and Ivory Shot into Aerial Cross, then jump back up or air hike and repeat. Whenever comboing Cerberus or his paw, use Agni and Rudra instead of your other weapon. Use Beowulf to get close after pounces. Killer Bee. Regarding guns, use whatever like best. Ebony and Ivory are most useful because of their rapid fire. Spiral is the most useful alternate gun because of its range and power. Fire it as quickly as possible, cancel. When distancing yourself from Cerberus, you have a Devil Trigger now. Use it. Devil Trigger when you get in Cerberus's face with Aerial Cross for maximum efficiency. A fully charged DT explosion usually knocks Cerberus down. Style-specific strategies. Trickster. Trickster gets you around the room faster. You can use a dash anytime in place of a roll. If you have level 2 Trickster, you can Sky Star to Cerberus's heads or paw after dodging an attack to connect with a Helm Breaker. If you have level 3, Air Trick saves a second or 2 when traveling from a long distance away from Cerberus. If you're using Agni and Rudra, then Trickster is a bit more useful. Air Trick into Cerberus's face when it's clear, Aerial Cross, Ebony and Ivory Shot, Aerial Cross, Sky Star Forward, Aerial Cross, Ebony and Ivory, Aerial Cross, Air Hike, Aerial Cross. Well, you get the idea. Trickster can enhance your ability to use Aerial Cross repeatedly in a short amount of time. Swordmaster. Aerial Rave will be very useful against Cerberus's heads. Aerial Revinto Helm Breaker is even better. For Agni and Rudra, Skydance cancelled into not performing the last spinning attack, Aerial Cross into Ebony and Ivory Shot into Skydance cancelled into Aerial Cross with an air hike for when you drop too low. If you have Nevin, I recommend taking Nevin and Agni and Rudra into this fight with Swordmaster. Knock the ice off of all 3 of Cerberus's heads, jump into the middle head, perform both air slashes with Nevin, then Aerial Cross, then air slash 2, then air hike and do both moves some more. Jump away to avoid being nashed or headbutt. The goal with air slash is to hit all 3 heads with each slash. Hack at a paw with Agni and Rudra to take them down or unleash a fully charged DT explosion during your onslaught of air slashes to knock Cerberus down. Gunslinger. The rapid fire allows you knock off Cerberus's ice more quickly, while charged shots let you do more damage from a distance while waiting for Cerberus to calm down. Close up, air hiking over his heads, and using Rainstorm is very effective for both destroying the ice armor and damaging Cerberus. It does more damage than shooting Ebony and Ivory normally. For the other guns, don't use KA's abilities. Only Shotgun's Gunstinger and Point Blank are useful on the paw. Artemis Lock-on abilities come in a bit handy from a distance, and Spiral's Gunslinger abilities are good for long-range damage. Royal Guard. I recommend not Royal Guarding the Icicle drop and rolling instead. It is possible to just guard the first Icicle easily, however. When the ground starts to frost, guard. You may attempt to take just guard the rest by watching the ice carefully and using quick reflexes. I'd rather take the minimal damage from guarding them normally or just dodging. The ice balls can be just guarded by, well, waiting for Cerberus to finish shooting it out and guarding right before it hits you. The freeze breath can be just guarded very easily. Guard after you see the ground freeze. Once in a while, you'll get two hits. One that is just guarded and one that does very minor damage. Guarding his pounce is about reflexes. Don't stand immediately in front of Cerberus. Allow yourself some space. The instant he moves from his get ready to pounce stance, hit circle and hope you did it in time. Just guarding the headbutt is simple. Once he lowers his head, guard. Paw swipes are easily just guarded if you have quick reflexes. Guard when he swipes at you. Guard million carats and crystal as the ice crystals appear. Release on your head of choice during devil trigger for maximum effect. Getting a just release on Cerberus is a bit tricky. It's easiest to do against his head's physical attacks, pounce, headbutt, while in the air. Releasing on the ground is risky. It sometimes misses Cerberus's head. This works extremely well as all his attacks could be blocked. I will show you a list. Ultimate, Ice Breath, Ice Spheres, Ice Passage, Headbutts, Paw Swipes, Air Block or Block. Falling Icicles, Ice Passage, Headbutt, Paw Swipe. When he uses the falling icicles, jump and air block. If done correctly, a flash, chink noise, all 3 Royal Guard gauges, and 6 to 7 DT gauges should be filled. And no damage. Beautiful on DMD. It's a lifesaver. Attack the middle head with release for the damage. Recommended style: Swordmaster, Nevin's Air Slash, or Trickster, Air Trick and Skystar.